And we are live on both. So, what is going on, Ali? Welcome on. Glad to have you here. For everyone watching right now, I am speaking with Ali. She is in the digital marketing space for financial companies. She's grown a nice TikTok following to 6,000 followers, and she's already getting approached by companies and brands to help them consult on TikTok strategies. And so we're just going to have a conversation right now around, what that looks like, what possible routes she might go with this, and just to kind of show people out there that you don't need 100,000 followers to start monetizing on TikTok. Like Ali is doing this with 6,000 followers, and she has some big companies already approaching her. So Ali, I want to turn over to you, and if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for starting or initializing this little discussion, Mike. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I am from the States, but actually live in Switzerland. And I started after I graduated college. I started in wealth management, so like in finance.
Mhm.
I actually got lucky enough to get a job offer over here in Switzerland. So I've been here like 4 years. But I noticed while I was working in the industry that finance is especially behind when it comes to like digital marketing and being online and just like being able to control your lead generation process. So finance is very much relying on word of mouth and referrals. And I was just like, well, at some point they have to catch up. So why not just kind of like seize the day and kind of take advantage of that opportunity? So I started a side hustle while I was still working in the portfolio management team. And then eventually I just like my side hustle honestly grew bigger than my job at the wealth management company. And so I started my full-time digital marketing business last like August or so,
Mhm.
and been going ever since. But I just started in February, actually, the TikTok thing. And I just can't believe the amount of growth that you can have on TikTok with like consistency. It's like so much easier than any other platform. So I'm just like blown away by it.
Yeah, it's awesome. So when you started your side hustle, what exactly were you doing? So it was digital marketing for financial companies. Anything like specifically that you were doing? Was it, Facebook ads? Was it strategy consulting? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so it was basically like content marketing. So what I noticed is they didn't have like honestly, none of the banks or like wealth management companies here even had a LinkedIn profile. It was like that bad. I don't want to say bad, but yeah. And so I came in and just kind of like showed them the potential. So like how many leads you can get just by posting consistently and like being where your clients are.
Mhm.
And so then it looked like building them a digital marketing content strategy kind of, and then just like managing. So kind of like social media management with a touch of strategy.
Were you creating the content or you were just overseeing that whole process?
No, I was creating the content.
Oh, wow,
I
nice.
I actually I understand why there is not a lot of digital marketing businesses for finance. They don't have a lot of content to go around, like not a lot of images and videos. But it's yeah, I mean it's still a very untapped market. They're still learning about everything.
So it sounds actually kind of similar to where I was, like my journey as well. So I started out in the corporate world. I was working in the US in New York City, and then I started out, with a side hustle. I did a handful of things, but what really started taking off for me was the digital marketing agency. I wasn't doing content marketing. I was doing more on the ad side, so like Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and that started working out really well for me. And then in January of this year, I got on TikTok, and that was just like, whew, absolutely took off, which is exactly what you said that you're seeing as well. And
Yeah.
so my business has pretty much shifted completely to being TikTok focused because that's just where all the growth is. That's just where everything's headed. Like I kind of see
Yeah.
the writing on the wall. Like Facebook ads are getting harder, Google ads are getting harder. All of my previous clients want like influencer marketing. People want to be on TikTok. Everyone's like, what's going on? How do you do this? Like there's so
Yeah.
many people, and I'm sure you probably see even more of that with these financial companies and the banks, because they do seem to be a little bit slower. They're much bigger, they're not as nimble, and so they're even further behind on this path of just like there's so much growth and so much potential on TikTok. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about, what have some of these conversations looked like? So you probably already had connections from your marketing agency with these companies, and I'm sure you have new companies reaching out to you as well. So like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so already before I was experimenting with TikTok, I saw that everything was going in towards video, right? I mean, like the only way to keep people's attention these days is through video. It's very hard to do with just words. It's really hard to do with just a still image like on Instagram. And even the podcasts are doing videos paired with the podcast so people can actually like watch the video. So I just saw the trend of short form videos and then also long form videos. Then you can cut that up into short form videos. And so for all of my clients, I was like really pushing them to do reels and to get on YouTube and to like take advantage of this really high engaging content.
Mhm.
But the problem with that is that it's more work for them.
Right.
So the problem is, as a digital marketer, they want you to do everything. They're like, well, I don't really want to lift a finger because marketing is not my thing. So can you do the video for me? And I'm like, well, like I can do some of it, but you really got to put your face, you got to like show your face. That's what's engaging. That's what people want to see. That's what builds trust. And
Mhm.
so we're already having those conversations, but then I got on TikTok and I started growing, and then I started like being contacted by actual companies. So like bigger companies. And they were like, hey, like you said, like we're so nimble, the individual creators on TikTok and the bigger companies, even the smaller fintechs, they're just like not as flexible as we are. And
Right.
so some of them were reaching out and just like, hey, we know we got to be there, but can you share like some statistics that I can take to my boss? So a lot of what I get is like younger people on the team being like, hey, can you help me convince my team or my boss that we need to be here? And so I started creating like all these statistics and gathering all these statistics of how much people want to learn about finance on TikTok and like fin talk, crypto talk, money talk, like all of these things and how many followers it had. And then also from bigger banks, like the digital side of bigger banks started contacting me and being like, wow, well, this is definitely where we need to be. Can you start telling us more about like how you see the future of finance? So all of a sudden I started like getting this attention and them wanting, because they were like, hey, you're kind of like forward thinking. So now we don't only want to know about marketing. We want to know actually about like what your thoughts are going forward, like where the opportunities are. So it's actually kind of shifted my business in a really cool way.
Wow. So it seems like it's kind of going in like a consulting direction almost, which makes a lot of sense for these bigger companies. There's so much of that like bureaucratic process that has to go through before they can even start with anything. So that's funny to see that, you kind of have to provide them with like a pitch deck almost to like take to the higher ups to just get like budget approved. That's
Yeah.
something that, I don't really see with the clients I work with. Most of
Yeah.
the clients I work with, they have under 15 employees, and they're pretty nimble as well, and they come to me already on board like, okay, we want to do TikTok, like let's go with something. And so it seems like you kind of there's a much more like of a learning process there. Like they know they want to be there. Now it's just they're just trying to figure out like, how do we even get there, like what are these steps to take.
Yeah, your position sounds a bit easier. I love that they're already ready to jump on something, because for me, the lead up to signing a client is like, okay, who do we got to convince now? What kind of budget do we need? Who do I have to talk to in compliance? Like all of these different things.
Yeah.
So,
So, but the thing with you though, it seems like, I mean, I'm just assuming, but it seems like if you land some of these clients, they're much bigger. Like if you're landing, a well-known bank, their marketing budget is probably fairly significant. So it seems like your clients are going to be a little bit more work to get them on board, but you probably don't need as many clients as I would need to really to fill out your business, I would assume.
that's the goal. But like quite honestly, why I wanted to talk to you more is because with these like TikTok strategies and what they're asking me to do. I
Mhm.
mean, I know you I already asked you in kind of Instagram direct messages, but there's three ways obviously that I can work with them. It's like I can tell them trends, but that seems like something that's like not that valuable in that I can't get that much money for. If I'm just like, "Oh yeah, like I'll tell you the trends every week and then you guys go make the videos." Or I mean, I guess I could like go in and physically help them with the videos, but not being the face of anything. And then obviously being the face of of a brand is where the big money is. But I'm not so sure that I want to go around being the face of like all these Swiss banks who have a lot of catching up to do with.
Right.
Like, yeah.
So there's actually, I didn't even think of this till right now, till having this conversation. There's probably another way that you could go with it where you could potentially hire out, I don't want to say like an actor, but like someone who's more of like an entertainer, but still kind of understands the space, that is looking to make TikToks as their career. Like there's people out there that do that. They love making TikToks, and you could probably find people that have some type of overlap, and you could potentially grow out your agency where, the companies that you're working with, like you said, they don't want to make the videos. They're just like, can just take my money and like just do it. That's what they want. They just want, like, here's money, give me the solution. And for you, that's probably a lot as well, to be okay. You're gonna be the face of like 6 brands. That's probably tough to do, and there's probably some conflict of interest too. So another potential way you could go is maybe you could like kind of oversee the strategy, put strategies together, and try to like find those people that would potentially be the face of the brand. That could be another way, just a potential way to scale out your business.
Yeah, that's really smart. I mean, especially here in Switzerland, because I don't speak the main language. So that's also an issue for me. That they're always like, well, do you know any German? I'm like, not enough to go on a TikTok with German.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, another thing that I've seen, actually, I was on the phone with someone yesterday, and they were in contact with a very large marketing agency, and their clients are asking them same questions, like, we want to get on TikTok. How do we do this? Like, how like, what can we do? And one thing that a lot of these companies are looking for is to grow their own profiles, right? And they don't necessarily only want one person to be the face of the brand, because there is a lot of risk for them in having that. So
Yeah.
another route that a lot of these companies are going is they are looking for multiple faces to make content, and they'll just pay for that content. And like, you don't even have to post it on your own page. They just want content, because, and you probably understand this from being, in the content marketing world, like especially with the fintech companies, they have no content. They have nothing to share, and like they will pay for people who can just make them TikToks. Like, okay, we'll pay you X amount to make 10 TikToks every month, send them over just so we have something to post.
Yeah.
That's another route as well.
Yeah. I want to ask you like the dirty details. So like how much are you charging for like a TikTok strategy? So let's say we're just going for like the lightest. So I'm just telling people the trends. Like how much are you charging for that? And how much are you charging per video and like stuff like that?
Yeah, so I personally don't do like, I don't do that type of work. So I won't do like a one-off like consult. I love that in the background.
Say hi to everyone on TikTok and everyone on Facebook.
So yeah, I won't really engage with a client if it's just like I'm just gonna send them trends or anything.
Yeah.
But you're right in thinking that that's probably, a lower value. However, one thing to I guess overlay this conversation with is you are in a very lucrative niche. So I think, your niche versus someone who might be in like skincare or fashion or hair care, which is like extremely popular on TikTok, and there's a lot more people doing that.
Yeah.
Yours is very niched down. The companies have way more money, and so it's a lot more valuable to them. So as far as them paying for videos, like I've had people in my comments say like someone paid me $1,000 to make one video. Like that to me seems like a lot.
Yeah.
That company, what I imagined that company was doing was taking that video and using it as an ad, so they could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars behind it.
Yeah.
But what I would do if I were you is I would start off, if you're planning on doing, let's say 10 videos a month, maybe you want to start off $2,000 and just kind of see where it goes from there. I personally like to start with prices lower rather than
Yeah.
higher, and then always raise my prices, as opposed to start high, no one bites, and then you have to kind of go backwards on it.
Yeah.
So I would rather like start low, over deliver, and then increase prices as you go. So I think like $2,000 a month for maybe 10 videos, I think that is probably a fair price in your specific niche, with your skill set, your ability, and you've kind of proven like what you're talking about in this space. You've grown your TikTok page, and they're going to come to you as like you are the expert in this area.
So are you talking about like, this is probably more than just sending them trends. It'd be like planning out 10 videos and doing kind of like a strategy for them and like teaching them how to make those videos. Is that kind of what you see?
So I would see the most valuable thing for them is you actually handing them the 10 videos. Like at the end of the day, that's what they want, right? They want like you take the money and you give us like the solution, and they don't want to do any work. And it also is going to depend on, does the company already have a marketing team? Do they have the resources to actually make the video? Are they going to want to make the video? So it's probably gonna be different depending on the company. So some of them aren't gonna really have those resources, and they're just gonna want the videos from you. And so
Yeah.
what you could do at that point is you could make those videos yourself. You could, as I kind of mentioned earlier, try to find someone who is maybe an actor or like an entertainer, or just someone on TikTok who is looking to do this, that understands the space as well. And you could come up with some strategies, and maybe you give them $800 a month and you take 1,200, and that's will allow you to scale up much easier as well.
Yeah. Those are some really good ideas. I never thought about those. You're actually giving me a lot to think about.
Yeah,
I always thought, because like in a team in marketing, I'm sure it works if the team is in front of the camera, because people want to get to know the faces behind the company they're working with, right? So in my mind, I was always like, well, your team is going to have to be in front of the camera. But I guess what you're saying is like, it doesn't necessarily, depending on what the company is.
Right. Yeah. So I completely agree with that. And like, that's how I see it too. Like I personally don't like being on camera. Like I'm an introvert, but I completely understood that like, all right, I got to get on TikTok. I got to like put myself out there, and like people see
Yeah.
you, they like you, they get to know you, they trust you. And like, that's how your business grows. But I think with some of these companies, they're just not going to want to do it. Right. Or they're not going to have the person that wants to do it. And so they would rather take the approach of like, let's just get, 10 different personas on our TikTok page, and maybe they could all be customers, or they could all be like testimonial type videos, whatever it is. And just try to grow that way. Is seeing that, maybe they don't want to just lock one person in to be the face, because that can be a pretty big risk to some of
Yeah.
these.
Yeah, definitely. It can be a risk to the business, and it can be a risk to you as the face, because I always think like, if I'm branding myself as a face of a business and then something happens, like it comes out that they're not paying workers, or like, I don't know, the pay gap is like massive, then you're like, well, I don't want to be on the face of that, so it's risk on both sides.
Yeah, that's a partnership that has to, there has to be a lot of thought put into that. You probably have to know the team really well, and really
Yeah.
trust. There has to be a lot of trust on both sides.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome. That is really, really good ideas.
yeah.
And then I had another question in terms of TikTok. So I know that you probably know TikTok better than anyone, but I think it's really powerful and it's useful, but it's also kind of holding people back, that the algorithm is so location based. Like I heard that it's based on your phone number or something, which is fine, but it's also kind of harder for global companies or for people trying to market to people in different countries and stuff like that. And so I'm just wondering like what your take on that is, and if you've thought about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So it's tied to your SIM card. So for example, when I moved to Mexico, I kept the same SIM card. So my videos primarily show to people in the US. However, I still get like global reach. I have a lot of people that follow me from Australia, and a lot of other, English speaking countries around the world, South Africa, a handful of countries in Europe. But you are right. It is primarily based on your location and your SIM code. And that can be somewhat of a hindrance for some companies that are global. Now, how I would go about this if I were, that company that was global, that's looking to start a TikTok account, is, especially if they have a big enough budget, they're going to want to get a SIM card in their primary location. Like you're gonna have to kind of plant your flag and be like, this is our location, this is where we have to start. So if that is Switzerland, then that's where they have to start. And then if they're looking to get other areas, that will happen naturally based off of the type of content and the language as well. Like I mentioned earlier, Australia, South Africa, some other countries. That's basically just because of the English speaking. Like that will just trickle over.
Yeah.
Another way to kind of counter this is if you start to do some influencer marketing with them. So for example, if they have people post on their actual accounts, knowing that they're in certain areas, right? Let's say they want to expand to, I don't know, Germany, right? And so they find a couple German influencers who they know are in that area, and they have them post on their page. That's a way to grow it in a different region.
Yeah.
Another potential way to do it is by boosting their own posts. So this is something that I've been looking into a little bit more. I actually just ran a test the other day just to kind of see what it would do. And I think it makes a lot of sense for companies that you would be working with that have larger budgets, and they're probably more of like, let's just get this thing going fast. Like we'll throw money at it. You can, similar to what you could do on Facebook and Instagram, where like you boost a post. It's the same thing on TikTok. So you can basically tie your ad account up to specific pieces of content and put some ad dollars behind it. And then what you can do on top of that is you can do the geo targeting, you can do the demographic targeting. So if you're worried about hitting certain demographics or certain regions, you can use ad budget to basically apply that to pieces of content.
I'm really curious because I just from personal experience, boosting on Instagram, for example, these days has like minimal impact. I hate to say it, but it's just like
Oh
not
no,
worth it.
I completely agree with you. I
Yeah. Okay.
like when people tell me that they boost their post on like Facebook and Instagram, I'm like, no, stop. That's terrible. Don't do
Yeah.
it. Don't do that. Yeah, I'm saying more for TikTok because it's less what's the word? Like it's much newer. Like how Facebook
Yeah.
was like 5 years ago, like that's where TikTok is now. So like
Yeah.
basically all of their features are still like beneficial.
Yeah.
I don't know if like that's the best strategy, it's just another option to have. I actually just put out a TikTok of a brand that I saw doing this. It was basically they were selling like necklaces, and they must have reached out to this one influencer. She has like a couple million followers. I forget her name, and she made a video that looked like super native, super natural. And at the end, they were talking about this necklace that her boyfriend got her. And basically, I saw that ad as a sponsored ad, but it's like it was linked up to her account. So basically, she posted it, and then the ad comes in, and they can basically tie to her account, and they just put marketing dollars behind it. And what happens is instead of them running an ad, so it doesn't look as natural, it's just like an organic post that has like the little sponsored at the bottom, so it looks more natural, and they can control some of the demographics with that a little bit more.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Out of curiosity, how much money did you put behind a boosted post?
I started running it last night, and I just only put $20 a day just to kind of see what it would do. Basically, what I was curious is what can you get as like a cost per follower on TikTok? So I know there's a new feature coming out where you can basically optimize for new followers. I don't have access to that yet. I think I just have like optimize for video views, optimize for conversions, and a couple other things. But there's a new feature coming out that you can optimize for followers. So for now, I just did optimize for views and basically back into like what the cost per follower is. And the last I looked at it, I think it was on the magnitude of like 20 to like 50 cents. Um, so it's all right. It's not something that like I would do or I would recommend to my clients, but for someone who, maybe they have $100,000 and they're like, we just want to get this page big fast, like that could be a potential strategy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I imagine I've heard that TikTok, all the features with TikTok actually work because it's like at the beginning, like you mentioned. Whereas, like honestly, the ads on Instagram and Facebook, and don't even get me started on LinkedIn and Twitter, are just like so hard.
Yeah. Ali, what's your TikTok account? I have a bunch of people on TikTok asking like what your account is so they can follow you. And I'm gonna tag you in
It's
the comments.
at Alize, ALIZE
Yep.
MARCE CHXD.
All right, I think I got it right, and that's going in the comments. So you might have some followers rolling in to check you out.
Sweet.
One thing
Yeah.
I know you brought this up in we were going back and forth a little bit on Instagram DMs, and you brought this up. I kind of wanted to touch on this because I think this is like super important for a lot of people who are in a similar position to us, is that feeling of the imposter syndrome when you're going from, this is the business that I had before, like this is the type of work I was doing. And now it's like all of a sudden it's like these huge companies are like reaching out to me for strategy and reaching out to me for consulting and all these different things. And that's something that I know I went through, and I'm sure everyone goes through that. So I just wanted to ask you, like, what's your experience with that been? How have you been able to handle that? And do you have any other tips for people who might be in a similar situation to you, like growing a TikTok page and they're starting to get some notice now?
Oh my God, let me tell you, imposter syndrome and I are close friends. We know each other really well. Yeah, I think it's inevitable, especially when you're doing something new. And honestly, I've almost haven't had a day that I haven't felt it since I started this company, because I'm sure you feel the same. I think we're probably similar age, but like starting a company when you're younger than 30, younger than 25 is just like, I don't know. Do I know what I'm doing? I don't have that much experience. I never trained in traditional marketing. And honestly, I just like was like, how is nobody doing this? I'll just do it myself. I'll just learn everything, like whatever. But then like, honestly, every time someone like a client or a prospect or someone asks me a question that I don't know, which is quite frequently, I'm like, oh my God, should I be the one doing this? I don't even know the answer to everyone's question, blah, blah, blah. And then also with TikTok, when these companies have been like, hey, will you do our TikTok? I've been like, what video editing do I need? Like, no, I don't know anything about filming or producing or like anything. And it just made me go back to the kind of old school mindset that everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be produced. You have to edit everything. And I think that's what's so cool about TikTok is basically TikTok took the perfection and the curation out of it. They were like, fuck you, Instagram. Like, we don't need to spend hours and hours trying to look perfect and trying to curate everything and editing everything and stuff like that. And I think that's why I've experienced some success with TikTok, because I'm so good at being myself, but I'm not so good at editing and producing and like making it look like I'm more than I am. And so I would, to anyone having this, I hope that it's something almost everybody experiences at one time in their life, because it also means that you're getting outside of your comfort zone, which is where your life begins, kind of, is like, that's a good thing if you're experiencing that, because yeah, you're living life. But I would just say everybody feels like this. I mean, you read every single book on the most successful entrepreneurs, and they all have a time where they still feel like they don't know what they're doing. I feel like remembering that other people are feeling the same way as I am is really helpful. And then also for me, always having practices that keep me grounded. So when I'm like spiraling out of control, where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, why I'm like, why should I be the one to do this? I try to come back to like meditation, or I do some EFT tapping, or I journal and stuff like that. And I just think having something that reminds you and grounds you is so helpful when you're trying to grow a business, when you're trying to grow a TikTok, like anything that gives you that feeling.
Completely agree. There was so much value right there that I wanted to unpack. That was awesome. Um, Completely agree with everything you said about the need to get out of your comfort zone, and like you should be feeling this imposter syndrome, because that means like you are trying to get to the next level. Like you're trying to level yourself up, and now you're questioning like, can I even dream that big? Like, can I even go that far? And if you're not experiencing that at all, that means that you're being complacent, right? You're being comfortable with where you are, and you could be pushing yourself even further. So it's something that, yeah, it's good to know that basically everyone goes through it, and you're gonna face that imposter syndrome. You're gonna kind of question yourself at some points, like, can I do this? Like, am I actually a business owner? Like, can I consult these big companies on their strategy? And if you're not questioning yourself at times, then you're probably moving too slow, or you could be moving faster. So that's something that's just like, it's definitely encouraging just to hear other people have that. I'm sure everyone watching, like, that's probably encouraging for them as well, knowing that other people go through this. I know I put out a TikTok video a couple weeks ago about like facing resistance. Like I was filming one day and I was just like, wow, like I have so much resistance right now, even though it's like, all right, I have 20,000 followers. I've shot a million of these videos before. But I think that's encouraging for people that are just getting started, that know that like, okay, even someone that like they're looking up to is like, oh, they face those same things. And like just knowing that that will probably never go away. Like that will there will always continue to be like another level that you want to get to. And you'll always question yourself, like, am I actually good enough to get there? But then like the more times you go through that, you just expect it and you just know what's coming. So that's just
one thing I just want to slip in there after that, because I love what you said too. The timing is never right. If you're waiting for the timing to be right because you're waiting for a certain amount of money or a certain amount of experience or someone to contact you, like, no, you're moving too slow and you're never going to find what you're looking for. Like that's one thing I've learned with this business is literally the timing is never right. You just have to like make small actions and push forward somehow. You can't just sit around and be like, oh, well, when I have this, then I'll do this. Or when this happens, then I'll do this, because that's not what creates the success that we're all looking for, right?
absolutely. Yeah. The timing is never right. And you're always going to feel like you're like jumping off a cliff or you're jumping out of the plane and you're like, oh my God, am I actually doing this? And then you do that. And then, like you said, sometimes you feel like you're like spiraling out of control. And sometimes you feel like stuff's so chaotic, but it's very important to have some of those things that ground you. Like you mentioned, like, I know you said you like to meditate and you have certain things that you do. I'm the same way. Like I have a strict morning routine and a strict evening routine. And like both of those are like the bookends on my day that like I can always fall back to. And I'll have those things there that kind of keep me in place. And it's this constant process of like, okay, I'm here and I want to get to here. And now I'm like reaching here and like I kind of question like, oh, can I actually do it? Like, am I good enough? Blah blah. And then you finally get there and now you're like, okay, this is my base now. This is where I'm at now. Okay, how do we do this again? And you just keep going through this like this growth cycle where you're basically just making a new better version of yourself that you just continue to go through. But
Can I ask you what your morning and your nighttime routine are? Can I hear some details?
Yep. So I wake up and the first thing I do is like 15 minutes of breath work. I have this like 15-minute Wim Hof video.
Me too.
Maybe we watch the same one. It's
oh my God.
it's on YouTube. It's like the first one you type in.
Yeah, that's the one that I do every morning.
So funny. That's hilarious. So we both do the same 15 minutes of Wim Hof, and then I go right into meditation. After meditation, I do like 10 minutes of just gratitude. Like I'll write some stuff out, just try to be in like a state of gratitude for 10 minutes. And then I try to read. I've been really slacking on the reading in the morning. And then after that, I typically like to do some form of exercise. So it's a little different for me now since I just moved. Like every time I move, the routines kind of change a little bit till I like find what that routine is again. But in Mexico, it was either a run, a swim, or yoga. I would do one of the three. And then that's pretty much it for the morning routine. Evening routine was kind of similar. I would do meditation was the last thing. I would schedule my day. And then one thing that I'm adding now, I just started doing it 2 weeks ago, is I'll write basically a reflection of my day. How did my day go? What didn't go well? What could I have improved on? Just kind of like a way, it's like a way for me to get like a feedback loop. Like, if I had a week that was like terrible, I kind of look back and see like, okay, what was wrong? Like where did things fall off? And then I also write a kind of a plan for the next day. Like, okay, I'm going to do this better tomorrow. I'm going to focus on this tomorrow. I want to be in this type of mindset tomorrow.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, I know the first 15 minutes, but outside of that.
That's so funny. So my morning routine is wake up, do Wim Hof breath work, take at least a 1-minute cold shower. I am not so good with the cold shower. It should be 3 minutes, but I'm a 1-minuter. So then take a 1-minute cold shower. And then I read the Daily Stoic every morning, just like one chapter. It's like there's like thought of stoicism for every single day of the year. And you can just like read, it's sometimes 1 page, sometimes 3 page. You probably know it. Do you
Is
know
it
like
a book or is it like an app? Like where do you read it?
I think actually he has an app now, but no, it's a book. It's a book by Ryan Holiday, I want to say, and it's
There's,
called The Daily Stoic. I
there's
feel like
just
you
a
would really like
chapter
it.
for there's just a chapter for every day.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right,
I feel like you would really love it.
I'm writing this down.
And that makes it really easy because for me too, reading in the morning sometimes seems hard to do, but that I know that it's going to be like super quick, and I know that everything that I digest from that is going to be really like helpful and grounding. So that's my morning routine, and then I get into coffee. And then my nighttime routine, I have to turn like everything off at least an hour before bed. So around 9:30, I try to like shut down all my apps and stuff. And then I actually do. Have you ever heard of EFT tapping?
No, I have not.
It's like you tap on acupressure points and you like repeat things.
What does that make you like kind of feel calm? Like what does that do for you?
Yeah, so basically what you do, you can use it for a lot of different things. It was created for PTSD. So it was like used for soldiers after they came back from the war to get over their PTSD.
Okay.
So what you actually like what it's meant for is to help your body process negative experiences and really like work through them and then focus on the positive. And so you could be tapping and sometimes you could be talking like about an experience or about some doubts or anxiety that is bad, but you just want to like have your body work through it. And then you move on to the positive, and you always end with like, I love myself, I trust myself, and I like am so grateful for myself or something like that. Right. And I have suffered from pretty bad insomnia. And so there's this one YouTube video that's EFT tapping for insomnia. And I do it every single night. Like it's 6 minutes. I do it every single night. And then after that, I meditate usually for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then I always read. And I'm usually at night reading something that's like a thriller or like a bad mystery. But I just love that. And then I go to sleep.
Something like non-work focused. That's something that I need to do better of is like, when you go from like working in the corporate world to just, running your own business, it's like when you're at work and you just clock out, then it's like, okay, I don't have to think about this anymore. But now it's like my mind just goes like business 24/7. And so trying to balance that and find times where it's like I can turn that off switch and just like I'm not gonna think about business at all right now. That's super important to like have those times and to just have those like routines that that are always going to be there that you can like fall back on, and that can be what keeps you grounded and keeps you level set even if you're going through a lot of changes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, literally what you just said, it's so hard for me to shut off my brain. I'll be going to sleep and I'll be like, oh, I should do that as a TikTok video, or like I should post that on LinkedIn. And I'm like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Like just go to sleep.
It always happens to me. I'll be like kind of asleep and I'll be like, oh my God, I have to grab my phone and like write down the notes. Like this is what we're going to do for blah, blah, blah. It's
Yeah.
always happening, but
Yeah.
I love it at the same time. I love it
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Awesome. This has been so valuable. I'm sure people are gonna love this interview. I'm gonna have it recorded right now. I'll put it in my Facebook group. I'll put this up on YouTube. I wanna end it with one more question that I have for you, Ali. So if you could go back 1 year and you could give yourself any advice, what would you tell yourself 1 year ago?
Oh my God, that's so hard. I will tell you, before I answer directly the question,
Yeah.
I will tell you, if somebody asked me, if somebody told me what I was going to have to go through to start this business, I wouldn't have wanted to hear it, and I probably wouldn't have done the business. Like I wouldn't have wanted to know everything, because you can do it. It's 100% possible. But I feel like in our minds, we build things up to be even worse. And so if somebody sat me down and was like, this is what's going to happen, and then you're going to run into this issue, and then this is going to happen, I'd be like, oh, fuck that. I'm just like not going to do it, you know? So I wouldn't want to know everything that's going to happen with the business, but I would say, I don't even know. I would honestly say show up show up more consistently and show up earlier. Like, I think I waited because I was a little bit feeling the imposter syndrome. I was like, for all of my contacts and all of like my friends on Instagram, I was a little bit nervous to show up as like a different person than I've been, like
Right.
not have my Instagram be my life and like fun experiences, but like, hey, this is business tips and finance and money and stuff like that. And like, I was a little bit embarrassed of like what my friends would think or what my professional network on LinkedIn thought. And I would tell myself, don't care about anything. They're not your ideal clients. That's not who you're trying to sell to anyway. And probably you will need to lose some followers to gain the ones that will actually support you and benefit from you. And so I would say show up as early as possible and as consistent as possible.
That's incredible advice. And that's one of like the biggest hurdles too, is being able to like break out of that kind of social web that you put yourself in at one point. And it's like, okay, everybody knows me as, Mike that does this. And now it's like, oh, he's trying to be Mike that does that. And now
Yeah.
you have to face that, like, whoa, like what are people gonna think? Like, how am I gonna do this? And like getting past that is so crucial, and it's like one of the most difficult steps. It's one of the first steps, and so many people like can't make that first step, and I think that's like probably the hardest thing to do. And like once you just get past that, it's like boom, you're just going. And you're going to continue to face challenges. So my basically how I would answer that question is just like, know that you're going to face a lot of issues, know that you're going to lose, know that you're going to run into walls, and just like be ready for that and just keep going. So I love your advice. Just show up every day, and just know that like it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of hurdles, but it's worth it.
And if people tell you you've changed, say thank you and move on.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. You grew.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, Allie. This was so much fun. We should do this again. And I'm curious to hear how everything goes with your business and your consulting these fintech companies. Looking forward to see a couple brand sponsorships for you. Maybe you'll come across my feed on a completely different account sometime pretty soon.
Yeah, awesome. I'm really excited to hear more from you too. And thank you so much. Honestly, you give so much helpful advice on TikTok. Like, you're one of the really actually helpful people to follow. So I hope that everyone goes and follows you from.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you again, Allie. Thank you everyone for watching, and I hope all of you guys have a good day.